Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Mindy, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create 4 cards very quickly and easily using one stencil and one sheet of paper. Here is a look at the stencil we're going to be using. This is the Bursting Hearts 9x12 stencil, and this is from Simon Says Stamp Hey Bestie release. Now you can see obviously it's a very large stencil, and the first thing I thought of was scrapbook pages. But as far as card making, this is going to allow us to quickly create 4 cards in one sweep. Now the first thing I want to do is add a little bit of tackiness to the back of my stencil to hold it in place. So I'm going to be using the PIXIE spray. I'm going to spray that to the back of my stencil, and then I'm going to place this over a piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is 80 pound. And I'm just going to push that down so that tackiness is all stuck to the paper. It's not going to ruin our cardstock at all. It's completely safe. And then I'm going to start doing some ink blending. Now the colors that I'm using today are Seedless Preserve, Abandoned Coral, and Tattered Rose Distress Oxide inks. I have 3 different life-changing blending brushes from Picket Studios that I'll be using to do my ink blending. You can see I am working on a white craft mat, and I do have the corners kind of taped down with some blue painter's tape just to hold everything so my paper is not shifting all over my mat. So I'm starting off with the Tattered Rose, which is the lightest color out of the bunch, and I'm adding that sporadically at the bottom of my cardstock. I'm not completely blending every single heart with it. Then I moved on to Abandoned Coral, and same thing, I'm taking that brush and I'm just adding that to bits and pieces of the hearts, and then the Seedless Preserves. And I love this cascading look of hearts on this, how it starts small in the top and gets bigger. I think that's just such a beautiful design. So with that Seedless Preserves, I have it mainly at the top, and then once again sporadically blending that over the rest of the hearts and coming back in with that Abandoned Coral. So this second round of the Abandoned Coral is helping the blend come together nicely. My Tattered Rose did get lost a little bit, but you can come back in with it to lighten up your hearts if you want. I did leave one towards the bottom. It was pretty light, so that kind of helps that transition. Now once I'm done with my ink blending, I'm going to leave my stencil in place, and I want to spritz this with a shimmer spray. I want to add some sparkle and shine to this. So placing my cardstock and stencil in a box, I'm lightly spritzing this with the Altenew Iridescent Shimmer Spray. You want to be careful how much you put on because these are oxide inks, so they will leave a couple splatter marks on there, which I think is a beautiful effect. And then carefully peeling away your stencil. And that's going to leave us here. I'll give you a close-up of a beautiful shimmer on our hearts for our backgrounds. Then I can take my stencil to my sink and I'm going to rinse that off really well. Once my background is completely dry, which you can let it air dry or help it with a heat tool, which is what I did, I'm going to trim this down. So I'm starting with my first cut at 5.5 and then taking those strips and trimming them to 4.25. So there we have 4 card fronts, really quick and easy for 4 cards. And they all have a different design on them. I think this is just beautiful and just brilliant of an idea to have a large stencil like that, and just really helps you create some beautiful cards quickly. Now I'm going to need sentiments for my cards, and I'm going to use the stamp set Good Job Mama. This is from Simon Says Stamp and CZ Design. I've had this stamp set for a while, been wanting to use it. It has a lot of great sentiments on here. So I picked out 4 of them that I know I'm going to use, lined them up on my black cardstock that I'm prepping with an anti-static powder tool. And do note that I'm leaving quite a bit of room in between those sentiments, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So I'm inking those up with a mini Versamark ink pad, just giving that a light push down. You don't want to squish your letters, otherwise your words will be distorted and you won't be able to read them. So just a really light pressure, and I like to do that twice since I'm not pushing real hard. Then I'm going to sprinkle on the Brutus Monroe Alabaster Embossing Powder. So this is a really nice bright white. And then once my heat tool is nice and hot, I'll go ahead and melt that embossing powder. Now I wanted to show you here quick, I did invest in the new Wagner heat tool. It has a stand, so the hot element of your heat gun points up when you're not using it. And then you can pop those stand pieces and clip them to the side of your heat tool. So I think that's a great addition to that heat gun, and it also has two settings. There's kind of a warm setting and then the really hot setting. Then I'm coming in to my cardstock and I'm just going to brush that over with a Swiffer cloth. That helps take away any of that excess powder that may be on there. And this is why I left space in between my sentiments. I'm starting off by trimming these just down into some thin strips. If you want to cut them down all the way, that's up to you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these down with the sentiment label die from Simon Says Stamp. Trimming those down into these smaller strips to work with allows me to use my Mini Blossom die cut machine from Altenew. I love that I can have this little one on my table. It doesn't take up a lot of room, and it's really just convenient for me in my crafting location. So by kind of starting off trimming these into thin strips allows me to be able to run those through that small die cut machine. And then once I ran it through the first pass, I'm going to realign that with my edge so my edges match and they're evenly spaced on the ends. They have a beautiful die cut edge. You can certainly just trim them with your trimmer, but I really love the nice clean look that these dies leave. And there is a variety of sizes in that die pack. You've earned that drink. I love that stamp set. Such a great and fun sentiment. So I'm going to do the same thing here with all of those sentiment strips. Just run those through and trim those down. And then once I have those ready, I'll kind of set those off on the side. Now I noticed my PIXIE spray, when I removed that stencil, left some tackiness to my card. And this is a white card front, so it's kind of noticeable. And if you have any pets, the hair attracts to it immediately. Ask me how I know. So I'm taking a Swiffer cloth and I'm running that over my card fronts. I found this was the best way to help remove some of that tackiness. I tried a sand eraser that just didn't do it, but that Swiffer cloth really helped. So now I'm going to come in and add the main sentiment to all of my card fronts. I'm going to stamp these on before I attach them to any card bases. And once again, using that Good Job Mama stamp set. So they have a few different ones on here. This one says Good Job Mama. And I have a couple other ones that I'll be using. I'm stamping these with the Mini Misty tool and with the VersaFine ink. This is a black ink, VersaFine Clair black ink, which is really good for stamping on top of Distress Oxide inks. So now we have Mama to Mama is another one. And another one I'll be stamping is These Are the Days. So I thought these were really great encouragement cards to have on hand and send out to fellow mamas. Once I have all of those card fronts stamped, I can start working on my bases. So I keep on hand these strips for my cardstock bases. These are 4 1/4 by 11, and I do already have them pre-scored, so I can just grab them and then fold them in half and just reinforce that fold with my bone folder. And then taking my Gina K Designs tape runner, I'm going to attach all of my card fronts to these bases. So they are ready to go to be mailed out. After that, I will be working on those skinny sentiment strips that we had heat embossed previously. And I'm going to attach these using the Big Mama foam tape from Simon Says Stamp. And this I found was such a great way to add a little bit of dimension to the card. I'll show you a closer look at that when I attach it, but it's a really nice width. Super, super sticky, just so you know. And I took it and I'm just cutting them down into very thin strips, and then I'm going to attach those thin strips behind my skinny sentiments. So a lot of that I do off screen, but I just wanted to show you one here real quick. I'll just place that on the back. Once I have all of those done, I'm going to remove the backing of those adhesive strips, and I'm going to use a T-square ruler to help make sure I'm aligning this straight. And then I can just push that down and it's perfectly straight on there. And then here's a close look. You can see it gives it a little bit of dimension, but doesn't stick out so much on the card. I just love this width on this foam tape. And I will continue to do that for all of my cards using that T-square ruler to help make sure everything is lined up straight. After going through all of this, even though they are really simple cards, it's just kind of nice to have that reinforcement, or just making sure you're lining it up straight really helps. So I'll continue that for the rest of the cards. And then to add just a little bit more sparkle to this, because they're such pretty cards and colors, I'm going to add some sequins. This is a clear sequins mix from Neat and Tangled. And I'm just going to put 3 of them on each card. I'm going to use the Gina K Designs Connect Glue to attach those using my tweezers, kind of keeping them around the sentiments. And then I'm going to come in with the Love Potion Dream Drops. These are really pretty. It also helps kind of reinforce those sequins down. It's going to add a really, really light pearlized pink to the middle of those sequins. So you want to make sure you put those off on the side to dry and don't put anything on top of them until they're completely dry. I'll do that for the other 3 cards. And I wanted to show you quick because I always get asked questions about this. This is a glue tube holder that I got from Make It by Marco. They have an Etsy shop filled with fun, crafty storage things that you can use. I also have a video going over some of the other products that they have. I'll link that either up above or down below in the video description, but super cute stuff. Now next I have something completely different for you guys that I haven't done before on my channel, and that is a scrapbook layout, because honestly it's the first thing I thought of when I seen this stencil. I am a scrapbooker at heart, so I love diving into my pages, and this worked so well with it. So I laid everything out what I wanted to do. I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I did here. That is a 5x7 picture of my daughter that I took back in November. This is the Love You, it's the oversized Love You die from Waffle Flower, which was part of their January 2020 release. I die cut that out of the Tonic Gold Glitter cardstock and some Simon Says Black cardstock. So I have 2 of them there. The black is going to be my shadow layer. I have some sentiments that I went ahead off screen and heat embossed, and this is using the Tiny Words Encouragement stamp set. And I heat embossed that on black cardstock with the Brutus Monroe Gold embossing powder. So you can see I already went here, and this is just a full sheet of white cardstock. It is 8.5 by 11, and I think I actually trimmed it down to 8 inches. I think I took a ½ inch off. So the first thing I'm doing is attaching my picture to the front of this sheet of paper. This works really well because the scrapbook album that I have for 2019 is a 9x12 album. So that just worked out really well. And I'm putting down that Love You. So starting off with that shadow layer, I just added some Connect glue to the back of that and attaching that to the top portion of my cardstock here. And then I'll add that Connect glue to the glitter cardstock. And I'm going to layer that right on top of that black cardstock and just shifting it over a little bit. That's going to help make it kind of pop off of my page here. I love black with the white and the reds that I have in the background. It just really pops off the screen, off the page. It's just a really good look. Now I actually took a picture of this layout with my phone, and I'm referencing that so I know where each of these labels is going to go. And I did this process the same as I did with the sentiments for the cards by die cutting them with the sentiment label die. And then I am going to go and put that Big Mama foam tape behind it, so it's going to have just a little bit of dimension. Now, some of these sentiments are, you are so strong, you rock, you are special to me, you're simply amazing and you'll do incredible things, and so proud of you. And I thought these were just really great sentiments to put onto this layout. It's not necessarily going to anybody. This is something that's going into my album that my daughter will be able to look back at. And actually, she loves looking back at the scrapbook albums. So I think these are great, powerful, and encouraging sentiments for her to see as she looks back at this through the years. So once again, bringing out my T-square ruler to help line those up straight and just pushing that down. So I love how this stencil is so versatile. You can use it for cards or a scrapbook layouts. Just a really great stencil to have. I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well, along with the pictures of my cards and layout. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you again real soon.